I wanted to put together a quick video talking about working on EV cars at home DIY style. I service my own cars, I do stuff with my own cars, and I like a project, right? So I buy knackered stuff and try and fix them. I've been dabbling with EVs, and lots of people in the comments section have been telling me, you're not wearing the right PPE, you don't know what you're doing, you're going to kill yourself, all that kind of good stuff. Which is probably quite true, right? Darwinism and all that, but there we go. However, I have been using some Renault documentation to help me stay alive, basically, in this process. So I thought I'd share with you how to get hold of this information yourself. So Renault do provide documentation, but it's really aimed at emergency services on how to disable the car. I'll just pop that up in a second. And it just talks about, where to chop cables or where not to chop cables and how to pull the main master fuse and all that kind of good stuff and the PPE you need and all that. Renault do, however, also have a guide for mechanics that are working on the cars, and you can find it if you know what to look for. So what you want to do, go into Google, and what you want to search for is Mr. underscore, I know, ZOE underscore en.pdf. Okay, and when you hit the search on that on Google, it will come back. The first result should be a Renault Group hit, and you can see in here that it's actually a Renault server, but actually it's an Amazon web server. That's what the AWS bit. So it's a cloud-based server. They probably use it to drop a load of documentation and things like that. And if you click on that link, it will take you into this ZOE document. It's an MR document 457 and edition Anglais, and we have our general vehicle information for Renault. And in the contents, you can see here the important bit, at least for what we're talking about here, is how to lock out the vehicle, how to secure the battery, basically, so you can start working on the other components of the vehicle. So it takes you sort of through, after all the usual safety stuff of generally what you might be doing. Here's the sort of lockout thing, special tools you need, the PPE you need. It wants you to basically, special tool wise, you need a voltage detector, right? If you're going to be working on an EV, chances are you've got a multimeter floating around somewhere, so you're going to need that, obviously. And it takes you through the process of the vehicle lockout. And to be honest, apart from the usual stuff of removing all your wedding rings and stuff like that, and it wants you first of all to power up the vehicle, so stick it into the ready position, so ready to drive position. Then knock it all off and turn everything off, right? So turn all the stuff off. You want to open your driver's window, and it says stick it in neutral as well, but whatever. And what you want to do once you've turned off all the kit is open both the doors and step away from the vehicle with the key, and then with your bonnet open. You probably want your bonnet open as well, but you want to, with the keys out of the vehicle, then you're going to lock the vehicle, and you're going to give it 3 minutes, right? So lock it and wait for 3 minutes, and basically it will sort of power down all the systems after a 3 minute period. And it'll go through it in detail of what you want to do, right? But basically, at that stage, while it's doing, it says get out your posts and red and white chains and your A4 posters and section off the area, removing the little cover in the footwell and exposing the traction battery safety device switch. Having located that, you're waiting 3 minutes until the LED door locking LED has gone out, donning the appropriate gloves and boots, all that kind of stuff. You can then pull the plug out. So there's a little plastic clip. I'll stick a video of me doing it up there, and you can remove that the safety switch. Then it wants you to put in a sort of plastic blanking plate and a padlock so that no one can re-energize the vehicle, right? Then you're into pulling off the negative, so the earth lead off the 12-volt battery and isolating that. They seem to have put it in a little bag to stop it making connection again. And then you're into pulling the fuse flap. And when you pull the fuse flap behind it, or pull the screws out to get to the fuse flap, you'll get to the two master fuses on the system. And there's then a series of tests you want to do after a 5 minute period has passed, right? So 5 minutes after you pulled that master fuse, you give it 5 minutes. So go make a cup of tea. And then you're into getting your voltmeter out. So getting your multimeter out and testing for voltage. You do it by testing, it says just here, look, you take two measurements, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So sort of cross parallel the two fuses, check for voltage there. Then with one of your probes onto the chassis earth, the ground, then you want to be testing 2, 3, 4 and 5 for a voltage. Hopefully that document's of use. The other document that's probably worth talking about is the Renault Workshop Manual for the ZOE. It's a couple of thousand pages of goodness. There's an easy way to get to it, or relatively easy way to get to it if you can't locate it. If you go to Scribed and type Renault ZOE Workshop Manual, it should be the first hit. 2,728 pages, and if you take a look at that, it will allow you to look at that manual. Now, because it's scribed, it's a paid-for service, so you'll get through about 20 pages of this thing, and you can see the first thing always, whenever it starts talking about working on this thing, the first thing it's going to say is lock out the car, so referring to the other document. And now it wants me to watch an ad before I can view the next 20 pages. Okay, you can register and download free for 30 days. It's free for 30 days, but you do have to give it some credit card information. I've done it myself. I just used an old PayPal account, didn't have anything in it. Subscribed and then downloaded what I wanted, which I've got just here, and then unsubscribed. You can unsubscribe straight away. So relatively painless way of getting hold of this workshop manual. And the workshop manual itself will take you through loads of good stuff. So interestingly, one of the first things in this document is about insulation fault finding on vehicles. Now, I have an insulation fault on my vehicle, and it's got chapters and chapters about how to test, how to search, how to use an ohm meter. Really great information. It's a complete workshop manual, right? So everything from how to get underneath bodywork, how to replace your brakes, how to diagnose issues, with various problems with the car. So a great document, really useful. So this thing does take you through some pretty scary stuff around the traction battery, of how to pull it apart. There are things in here about how the battery's composed and how all the cells work, and all kind of good stuff. So pretty terrifying. Don't advise messing around with that on your driveway, but whatever. Some folks do. I know some people are talking about using these batteries for home power and things like that, bolting it to your wall, a bit like the Tesla power packs and things like that. Don't see any reason why it would work. You would just need some sort of controller device, right, to interpret the signals between the two things, to draw current and obviously to put current back in. So I hope you found that useful. As I say, these documents, they are sort of freely available. You can buy them on eBay and things like that as well. Next for me, I am well now into working on the insulation issue that I've got with my ZOE. I have a PEB on my workbench at the moment in many, many, many parts. I've had to order in some parts. So I broke some stuff when I was pulling it apart, so the soldering iron's got to come out, and fun stuff. Well beyond my capabilities, but you got to try, right? That's how you learn with this stuff. So next video coming along real soon with literally printed circuit boards all over the place. Thanks for watching. Take care.
Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more.